Hi and welcome to the Affiliate School. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through my entire process for selecting a niche for your next affiliate niche website. And whether you call it niche or niche, it doesn't really matter, but making the right choice can save you time, effort and money. Not only am I going to show you how I find inspiration, but I'm also going to be talking you through the exact tools that I use in the niche selection process. So, let's dig in. It's fair to say that choosing an affiliate niche is not an easy task. You might think that the market is oversaturated, you might think that there's not enough search volume, or you might just not have a clue where to start. Don't worry, you're not the only one. And if that is you, I'm going to be giving you a fail-safe method that I use to ensure that I pick a niche that is going to be profitable in the long term. And I'll be giving you that method at the end of this video. But first, let's start off with something that I like to call the non-negotiables. No, I'm not talking about a dodgy Robert De Niro movie. Instead, what I'm talking about is a method that I use to weed out bad ideas or just plain bad niches. So, where do we start? The first non-negotiable for me is that it has to be a niche that I have an interest in. So, this is particularly true if you are going to be creating the content yourself. And I would suggest that if you are a beginner, you at least get your hands dirty a little bit with the written content. If you don't have an interest in the niche, it's going to be incredibly difficult to keep that consistency up over time. And that is going to be a huge ranking factor when it comes to where your site places in organic search. The second non-negotiable for me is that when you're searching for semi-competitive keywords in the niche, that those search results are not dominated by either really high domain authority websites or news-related websites. Third, you want to choose a niche that is not solely reliant on one affiliate program, particularly if that affiliate program is Amazon Associates. Why is that? Well, we know how volatile Amazon Associates can be. They quite often will terminate an account with very little explanation, and they also are quite volatile in the way they change their commission structure and commission fees on a fairly regular basis. So if we can choose a niche that has at least 2 or 3 different affiliate programs, then we have a better chance of success in the long term and have a better opportunity to maximize those commissions. Next on the list of non-negotiables is to try and avoid YMYL websites. What are YMYL websites? Not easy to say, but a YMYL website simply stands for your money or your life website, which means if you are going into a niche that is focusing on financial or money related terms, or a website that can impact on someone's life in the sense of their health, then that is going to be a niche that's going to be a lot harder to rank for in Google. You're going to need a lot more authority. You're going to need experts within the niche to allow Google to see you as a trusted authority in that particular niche. So particularly for beginners, I would say avoid those types of niches. And the final non-negotiable for me, and this is where it comes down to you have to be committed. If you're not willing to commit to at least 12 months, then it's highly likely that you're not going to see success with your niche affiliate website. And I would also put a caveat in there that almost expect to see no real returns in the first 6 to 9 months at least. Yes, you certainly can see profit before that, but particularly if it's a brand new domain, it can take time. And if you don't have that mindset right from the get-go, you can easily become discouraged. And for me, it just makes sense to go in with that mindset of, I'm going to commit 12 months to this no matter what, and I'm going to be consistent with it. So they are the non-negotiables. Avoid them at your peril. In a moment, we're going to be jumping onto the computer and taking an over-the-shoulder look at finding a niche. But before we do that, let's have a think about where we start. So where do you start if you're looking to find a niche to go into? We've already said it's going to be a big commitment. We're already looking sort of 12 months down the line minimum, so it's going to take up a lot of time and effort. So we need to get this right. The first place that I tell most people to look is at themselves. What are you interested in? What interests do you have? What are your hobbies? What sort of things do you buy yourself online? If you find a niche, if you select a niche that you are interested in, you are going to be so much more successful. I've done this myself. I've chosen niches that I'm not particularly interested in, even when I've outsourced all of the content writing and everything else. And it's just hard to be passionate about it. You can do it, you absolutely can do it, but particularly for beginners or those who are taking their first steps into affiliate marketing, choose something you're interested in. The next thing that I would start to think about is where you are going to target. Are you focusing in on a specific country? Are you going to kind of go global with a .com? Even with a .com, are you focusing in on the United States? If you're going for a country-specific TLD, then obviously that is also going to bring in limitations. Whether you're going to be writing the content, you need to be able to speak and write the language to a decent level, unless you are literally going to outsource everything. So thinking about where you're targeting is a really important consideration. What sort of budget do you have? Budget is going to make a big difference in terms of, do you drill down and be quite focused, or do you go quite broad? The broader you go, the more budget you're going to probably need to throw at it. Even if you do everything yourself, you're still going to need some money to invest in this project. One of my favourite places to get inspiration, if I can't think of a niche, or if I just want to see how successful certain niches are, is looking at auction sites. So one of the best things about the affiliate model is that you can flip a website. So you can buy a website, you can start to get it profitable or increase the profitability of the site, and then you can sell it. And this is a really useful tool for us at the initial kind of niche research phase of a project, to go into websites like Flipper, Motion Invest, Empire Flippers, and go in and take a look at websites that are making money. If they're selling for anything really over about $1,000, then they're going to be making some money. And a lot of sellers will be quite open and honest and transparent, even just to the general public, about how well their websites are doing. And this can be really useful niche research. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to buy that website, but you can look at it and delve into the metrics of that site and see just how much work has gone in to making it profitable. Now, one thing that you really should look to do at the beginning is invest in some sort of tool to help you do the keyword research. My tool of choice is Ahrefs. You could use something like SEMrush. They offer a free trial. I'm pretty sure Ahrefs do some kind of free trial. They're certainly used to, but they do give you certain limited feature access. The other thing that you could look at, if budget is a massive issue, you could look at something like Keywords Everywhere and combine that with SERPworks. I'll put links to all of these in the description below and you can take a look. But these tools are really useful for getting an idea of search volumes, looking at competitors' links, so you can see, again, how much work has gone in to creating these websites and making them profitable. The next point that I would like to make is, and we've touched on this already, is thinking about how narrow or how broad you want to go. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. If you go really narrow, yes, that can help in terms of rankings in the short term, but it is going to put a ceiling on how profitable that site can be. On the other end of the spectrum, if you go super broad, then yes, there is more scope for profit and expansion in the long term, but in the short term, it can be a little bit harder to rank because it's going to be harder to kind of show that topical relevance to Google. My advice on this would be to go somewhere in the middle. I've created sites where I've gone really super focused, and I've created sites where I've been really quite broad. And if anything, the ones that I've had the most success with, at least in the medium to long term, is the sites that veer more towards the broad than towards the specific. And that goes against a lot of what people will tell you online. They will say go super focused. For me, it's just not worth it in terms of the time, effort and money that you're going to put in. You want to kind of think big to get those big rewards. The next thing you're going to need to consider is the domain name, particularly if it's a site that you are looking to set up from scratch. Again, for beginners, I probably would suggest that you do this, particularly if you're going at it with that long-term mindset, because people will talk about the Google Sandbox, and whilst that does exist, for me, if you start with a brand new site, it's going to give you ultimate control over every aspect of it, from branding through to the structure of the site, the look and feel of the site, how you structure your URLs, and absolutely every element of that site is in your full control. And again, look at it from a learning point of view. If you create that site from scratch, you are going to learn a lot more than if you take a site that already exists, that may already have problems or issues. And for me, I would always go with something that's brandable rather than a sort of exact match domain or partial match domain. So think, for more like a brand name rather than something like bestcurlinirons.com. Not sure why I thought of those. And finally, I would suggest that you do some competition research. So take a website that's in the niche that you are looking at. So let's say, for example, you were looking at coffee, then choose a site that is on page 1 for a coffee related search term, preferably a site that is just focused on coffee and not one of the high DA or news type sites. And throw it into a tool such as Ahrefs or SEMrush and look at what they're ranking for. Look at those lower competition keywords that still have decent search volume, and that is going to give you a whole world of opportunity that you can focus in on and start to put together a content plan kind of in your head before you even register the domain. So I promised you that we were going to go over the shoulder, and that's exactly what we're going to do now. So let's jump into the computer and take a look, and we're going to use Ahrefs for this demonstration. It's my tool of choice, generally speaking. I think it's got certainly the best backlink profile when looking at competitors, and they've recently improved their keyword database, which has given much more accurate reflections on traffic and the amount of keywords that websites are ranking for. So what we're going to look at really in this video is looking at some keyword research. So let's say that we've gone to a site like Flipper, and I've got an interest in coffee, and I've looked on Flipper and I'm pretty happy that there are plenty of websites on there that are selling and that are making some decent money. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to come into the Keyword Explorer on Ahrefs here, and I'm just going to start off with really generic terms like coffee. Now we can add more, so we could put something like how to make coffee or something like that, but we'll just start off with coffee. We're going to go United States. Let's say we're looking at a US website. Obviously, if you're focusing on country specific, you would just change that. And what we can see here, and it gives us this really nice graphic interface where we can see that this is a super hard keyword to rank for. So we're not going to be looking at ranking for a term like coffee. And to be honest, even if we did, yes, it would be fantastic in terms of the search volume for that. It gets around 434,000 searches per month. But it's not that specific, so there's not that much buyer intent behind it, although we'd obviously like to rank for it. But what it does do is it gives us keyword ideas for that, and we can look in there, and there's actually 3.5 million that we can look at. But what we'll try and do is just narrow this down a little bit. Let's think that we might be looking at a coffee machine website. So we might be thinking about reviewing coffee machines. Again, this is an extremely hard keyword. There's a lot of search volume there for it. It doesn't look like it changes too much seasonally, and if anything, it's a growing trend, so that's always a good sign to see. If we saw this here and the graph was gradually going down, that would be a bit of an alarm bell for us in terms of that niche. What we can see here is, we can look at the keyword idea, so let's click into here and take a look. And we can see a lot of these are the keyword difficulties that we're looking at. 44 is going to be pretty tough. So I'm just going down and looking at what kind of stands out. Let's have a look at this Jura coffee machine. So there's 3,200 searches per month on that, and it's a keyword difficulty of 11, which is still, a medium difficulty keyword. Again, the graph is kind of going in a positive correlation there, which is nice to see. So let's have a look at these keyword ideas here and see if we can find something that's even easier. So what we can see here is actually, if we look at specific models, the keyword difficulty becomes a lot less. We can also look at questions. So we can come up with content ideas that are, not necessarily have a load of buyer intent behind them, but certainly keyword ideas that can deliver traffic for us. And if we look at this one, how to clean a Jura coffee machine, has 100 searches per month, and it's only a keyword difficulty of 3. So let's take a look at that. Let's throw that keyword into Google and see what's ranking for it. So we've got a YouTube video here. Got some more YouTube videos up at the top there. blackbearhartford.com. Right, we're on UK. So what I'm going to do actually, this is another little tip for you. If you are looking at searching in different locations, I'm based in the UK, but I want to be searching the United States here. I'm going to change my Google, just in the settings there, I'm going to change it to United States. And I'm just going to paste that back in, and we should get some different results now. So we get the YouTube video up at the top, we get the US Jura site now, and we still get this Black Bear Hartford. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this little tool on here, this SERPworks tool, and what that's going to do is going to give me a lot of metrics just on Google itself. And this is a really cheap tool to use. I'll put the link in the description for you. And I would suggest that you look at this. I think it's about $5 a month, if that. But what it does is it gives you all this data. So we can say YouTube is an incredibly high DA site. Jura, well, Jura, it's going to be hard to probably outrank Jura because it is about their site or their product. We can see here this Black Bear Hartford is a DA27. It's not particularly coffee related, or it doesn't look like it is. There's certainly no topical trust flow that is particularly related to the coffee niche. We've got lots of YouTube videos on page 1 here. Actually, this is maybe something that you would want to look at if you were going to explore this niche, to actually put together a YouTube video for it. But this one's really interesting here. Even in the US search, I'm still being served at co.uk, and this is a DA11 site. So that's really interesting. Whole latte love, fairly powerful. But let's just take a look at this Black Bear Hartford site. It does look like it's a coffee related site. It doesn't look the best. You can see these are obviously going after some, some easier keywords. So let's throw this site now into Ahrefs. And this is the sort of research really you want to be doing. So even in Ahrefs, it's a DR13, which is pretty low. It's not got a huge amount of traffic, but it is ranking for some keywords. And I actually think if you were to look at the keywords that they're ranking for here, this would be a good starting place in terms of content. For the Jura E6, they actually rank position 6, and that's probably because they've got some good Jura related content. And the keyword difficulties here for a lot of their keywords are, you know, pretty low. This is an interesting keyword here, best bottled water for coffee. And that has got an absolute ton of buyer intent behind it. Because if you're searching for the best bottled water for coffee, you're looking for it, and you're likely to want to buy it. It's probably not, you know, the biggest earner in the world, but let's see who ranks for this. So we've got this dial up the coffee, low DA in position 1. That is certainly a keyword that I think, you know, you could focus in on with a fairly young site, get some traffic coming in, get some sales coming in. Higher DA. There's the site we were looking at. And they're all coffee related sites. And this is interesting because what I'd be looking at here now is I'm looking at keywords like this. So this is very specific, you know, it's a coffee site. Now, if I was looking to register a brand new domain for this site or for this niche, then let's look at what we've got. Dial Up the Coffee, brand. Bean Poet, brand. Luckybelly.com, probably more not just focused on coffee, I'm guessing, but again, brand. Coffee Statistics, fairly brand. Black Bear Hartford, brand, although not the best sounding one. Coffee Chronicler, brand. Coffee Hunter. FIKA NYC, I'll say that's a brand. DifferenceCoffee.com, brand. And Godshon Truth, brand. So they're all branded. And out of all of them, so out of all 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, so half of them have the word coffee in the domain, and the others have generally some reference to either food or coffee. So we've got the bean there. So that is, you know, already some decent research for us there. We can see that even in a niche such as coffee that had a very difficult keyword difficulty in Ahrefs, we can already identify keywords that we could rank for. And we've already identified a buyer intent keyword there as well, which is, you know, really, really good actually. So the other thing that you're going to want to think about, and this goes back to that initial kind of research, is the different types of content that we can have. So there are 3 different types of content that we're going to be focusing on with an affiliate site. And that is the informational type pages. So that was like how to clean the Dura E6. We're going to look at reviews. So let's see if they've got, here we go, the Dura E8 review. We can look at their review here. So that's a review piece of content. And then we've got our buyer's guides or roundup reviews. And that's, you know, like the one that we just looked at, the best bottled water. So that gives if we go into here and go back to Black Bear Hartford, we can see here, you know, they've got a range of different products that they're promoting. So they're the 3 different types of content really that we're going to be looking at. And we can do all that research in here. And, you know, we've just identified other websites. Again, this Dial Up the Coffee was very low DA. I'd be taking that and throwing that in. And this has got an even lower DR, but look at the traffic on that site. Now, they may well have some kind of redirect going into this or something. So we'd certainly want to do our research and look at the links behind the site. But that's an awful lot of traffic for a low DR site. And again, a lot of keywords where we can get ideas from here. And we can filter in here. We can type in the word review and just look at their review keywords. And, you know, we can look for particular brands and things like that. So there's quite a bit we can do there. And then the other thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to look at commission rates. So if we're talking about commissions in, you know, a coffee niche, or, you know, where can we sell these products? What websites? If it's only Amazon and we're only going to be getting 3% or maybe 5% commission, is it worth it? That's something else that we're going to want to consider. And just a word on commissions. Realistically, you're going to be looking for commission rates that are in, obviously we all want the highest commission possible, but we're going to want commissions that are 7, 8, 9, 10% plus. If we're going down to sort of 5% or the Amazon kind of associates in the United States that are only offering 3% for some of their categories, then that is probably a concern. So we also need to be looking at the affiliate programs that are on offer and looking for those higher commission tiers. And ultimately, when it comes to assessing the niche, there are a few questions that you're going to want to ask yourself. So the first question is, how profitable can that niche be? Again, top tip here, go to those auction websites, look at sites that are not particularly strong and see how much money they're making. How much content are you likely to need to write or have someone write to see success in that niche? Take a look at other websites that are doing particularly well. Look at how many posts, how many pages they have. Run it through a tool like Screaming Frog, or even just put site : and then the name of the domain into Google, and you'll see how many pages they've got indexed. As a rule of thumb, I would say in your head for the first 12 months, you probably want to be looking at somewhere in the region of 60 to 70 pages of content, of good quality content. That's 1 to 2 per week. I think that's manageable, and I think also it's consistent enough. If you drip it out, one or two one week, one the next, I think that's a good enough flow to allow Google to kind of see your website and give you that traction that you need. Go back to that passion. Are you passionate about that niche? Can you get passionate about that niche? If the answer is no, then success is going to be harder to come by. And finally, what is the potential to scale up this website? How far can this website go? Whether you're going to take it that far or not isn't really the question here, because if you are going to sell a site after it's got, moderate success, then the buyer is going to want to improve upon that. So they're going to need to be able to see the potential to scale it further. And that ultimately is going to put more money into your pocket, because it's going to make the site more desirable. If you found this video useful, then I'd love you to hit the like button, leave me a comment down below on what you'd like me to cover in the future, and hit the subscribe button for more affiliate related content.